Network, brought to you by Mr. Miles Dehydrated Water. Remember, it's not real water unless you have to add water.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Trekker here, and we have yet another article off of the TNN at antitrekker.com news desk. Thank you for your submission, and thank you, Mr. Miles, for going through all of these articles to sort through and make sure that you give me the ones that Another Discovery article. Yay. Oh, and look, it's on StarTrek.com, so I'm sure it's completely unbiased. Yay. So, what do we got today? It says, from Discovery to the original series, Spock's future is clear. Episodes like City on the Edge of Forever show us that the younger Vulcan's path on Discovery has always had a purpose. By Cindy Massier. Oh, boy. In the Star Trek The Original Series episode, City on the Edge of Forever, Dr. McCoy steps through the Guardian of Forever, and the Federation ceases to exist. Captain Kirk and Spock follow McCoy through the Guardian's time portal, chasing him to New York City circa 1930 in a desperate attempt to fix whatever has changed in time. Well, yeah, that's just a basic plot synopsis of City on the Edge of Forever. Thank you for that. And by the way, anybody that really would care about Star Trek probably already knows everything in that paragraph. On Star Trek Discovery, then Lieutenant Spock, now Ethan Peck, has been given a vision of an apocalyptic future where all sentient life has been eradicated. I find it incredibly symbolic that he sees Vulcan explode but gets a chance to prevent it, while neither version of Spock could save Vulcan in the first J.J. Abrams film, Star Trek 2009. That's symbolic of symbolic of what? Do you know what the word symbolic means? I mean, I could think of about a million other words you could put into that sentence and make more sense. You could say, I find it ironic. That could be, I find it fitting. I find it apropos. But symbolic? That, some of these writers. The vision, which guides the second half of Discovery's second season, is delivered by the Red Angel, the being responsible for 7 signals that the USS Discovery tracks down throughout the galaxy. Both shows throw Spock into situations where millions of lives are at stake, with no clear or easy answer on how to save these lives. If you're comparing City on the Edge of Forever to Discovery Season 2, that is a boneheaded thing to say. You probably never watched City on the Edge of Forever. You're just going by a plot synopsis, because let me tell you, it was extremely clear what the answer was on how to save lives. Yes, there was a little bit of a puzzle where Spock had to figure out a way to access the data stored on his tricorder. But once he did, it was very obvious what the problem was. The problem was that Edith Keeler surviving would prevent the United States from entering into World War II when it did, which gave the Nazis time to develop their weapons programs and win World War II. This was not unclear. It was crystal clear. It was just they had to figure out exactly how to get to that information. But whatever. The mysteries with the highest possible stakes. In this context, it's interesting to look at the older Spock from the City on the Edge of Forever as someone who has learned from his experiences on Discovery. After all, the Spock of Discovery is a Spock in the process of becoming our Spock. I really get tired of people saying crap like that, because it's the same character. He's not becoming our Spock. And in fact, it's kind of funny, because you're almost like saying, oh, this is the inferior Spock, but we're going to make him good eventually. And that's kind of a conceit, but it's also, I understand, an attempt by some of the people that are desperately trying to garner fan support of Discovery to say, oh, you see, Michael Burnham is so awesome that Spock would have sucked without her. Anyway. Let me start that sentence over because I'm going to go on a 20-minute tangent if I don't shut up. After all, the Spock in Discovery is a Spock in the process of becoming our Spock, crafted first by Leonard Nimoy. When Admiral Cornwell administers a lie detector test to Spock, there is some discussion of why a time traveler would give Spock, of all people, the vision of the future. Spock doesn't know. It's a startling reminder that the Spock we were introduced to in 1966, who has saved the universe repeatedly, can come back from the dead and become a legend in his own right, hasn't come to be just yet. He's a much younger man on the USS Discovery, struggling with both sides of self and concerns over mental illness. Okay. All right, Cindy, you have clearly not seen Star Trek, the original series, and this is the worst type of shill article because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're just regurgitating something someone told you to say, because there is no way in hell that anyone who has followed Star Trek, the original series doesn't know that a major part of Spock's character, in fact, the central point of Spock's character arc throughout the original series, was him struggling with both sides of his id, his human half, his Vulcan half. How many times in the original series has Spock brought up the fact that he's constantly in conflict with himself?
Being split in two halves is no theory with me, Doctor. I have a human half, you see, as well as an alien half, submerged, constantly at war with each other. Personal experience, Doctor. I survive it because my intelligence wins out over both, makes them live together.
How many times has it been an issue, the fact that he would normally be immune to something because he's a Vulcan, but because he's a half human, he's kind of vulnerable to certain things? How many times has this kind of thing come up? So for you to say like, oh no, he only did that in Discovery, you are an idiot, or you have never seen the original series. As far as concerns over mental illness, this Star Trek Discovery Season 2 was an insult to mental illness. First of all, they try to make dyslexia into a space dyslexia for Vulcans. That's whatever. That's just beyond stupid. But on top of that, his genuine emotional breakdown when he was actually institutionalized was entirely voluntary, and then he left when he realized, oh, I'm not crazy. That's not struggling with mental illness. He thought he was crazy because something unbelievable happened, and then he got proof that it was real, and so he said, oh, guess I'm not crazy. Let's move on. Sure, he acted kind of crazy, but that makes no sense. But hey, whatever. Acting. All right, so struggling on both sides of self and concerns over mental illness with the Red Angel's vision only made worse. No, the Red Angel's vision created it. What's a perfectly ordinary maladjusted half... What's a... What? Oh, geez. What's a perfectly ordinary maladjusted half Vulcan, half human Starfleet officer supposed to do when he's burdened with the future of all sentient life? Well, apparently check himself into a nut house, only to check himself out shortly thereafter. The vital lessons that Spock learns with the Discovery crew now seem like a perfectly crafted Easter egg from the writer's room that inform who he will become. No, they don't. For one, the lesson quickly becomes apparent. Information is key. The Discovery crew is constantly at a disadvantage through the season. They meet multiple setbacks due to their receiving the right information just too late. It is by staying curious and diligently pursuing the truth that they finally start to gain the upper hand. In City on the Edge of Forever, Spock works night and day to construct a rudimentary computer to help parse tricorder data and determine how the timeline was changed. Okay, so if you knew that, why did you say there was no clear answer earlier in this article? When Kirk learns that Edith Keeler is involved and assumes she needs to live, Spock reminds him that they don't have the whole story. He then works even harder to make sure they have it. Spock knows the cost of not knowing all the facts. You're really stretching to try and suggest that he only was, I mean, like Spock wouldn't have put in all that much effort into constructing his stone knife and bearskin computer system if it wasn't for the fact that he had to save the universe with Michael. Whatever. Spock and Kirk eventually learn that if Edith Keeler lives, she will spearhead an American pacifist movement that will indirectly allow the Nazis to develop the atomic bomb and win World War II. As improbable as that is, Spock's experiences with Discovery must have taught him how seemingly small changes in the time stream can have massive impact on the future. Yeah, because, you know, unless you actually experience something like that, you would have no idea. You know, there isn't a concept in time travel called the butterfly effect or anything. This is brand new. Nobody's ever figured it out before. So congratulations, Michael Burnham, inventor of the butterfly effect. Let's see. Gabrielle Burnham's most effective move against Control is altering the gravity of the sphere. Michael Burnham set 7 simple signals that lead Discovery on a critical path. A friendship forged over ice cream is a critical factor in their final battle against Control, which has nothing to do with anything else in this article. Who the hell cares about Princess Ice Cream SJW Pig Knocker Nose? Why is she being mentioned in this article? That makes no sense whatsoever. Even a small choice can alter the future, but when these choices also offer an even more crucial lesson, saving the future is not a win-win scenario, Gabrielle Burnham gives up on saving her husband to save the universe. Because Gabrielle Burnham is a freaking idiot. Pike sacrifices the right to choose his own destiny. Michael and the Discovery crew leave behind everything they've ever known in order to get the sphere data to the future. Even though that is a completely unnecessary move, since Control was completely and utterly obliterated before they go into the future, which means going into the future prevented nothing. Each chooses the needs of the many over the needs of the few. Don't you dare quote that! And there's no room for compromise in that choice. Yeah, there actually was. You see, in Discovery, what they could have done is, since they destroyed Control, then they could have said, oh, I guess we don't have to go through the wormhole after all. Done. There's no room for error in changing the future, especially when so many lives are at stake. When Spock says that Edith Keeler must die, Kirk retorts that he's in love with her. He doesn't want her to die. To be fair, none of us would be happy if we learned that our perfectly nice girlfriend would one day be responsible for the Nazis ruling the world. Wow, that's actually a sentence you wrote. Edith Keeler was more than just a perfectly nice girlfriend. Again, you don't understand the original series if you really think that Edith Keeler was just a nice girlfriend, that she was just a fling for Kirk. Kirk was seriously in love with her, and in fact, one of the most potent moments for Kirk, William Shatner delivered an absolutely flawless line, which was right at the end of City on the Edge of Forever when they're beaming up. Almost every episode of the original series ends with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy giving some kind of quip or joke about, ha ha ha, isn't it great that we saved the universe? But at the end of this, he just says in an incredibly somber tone, let's get the hell out of here.
Let's get the hell out of here.
I love that moment, and that helps reflect on the fact that Edith was not just a girlfriend. She was truly the one for him, and he lost her. But whatever. But Kirk's previous experiences with time travel have been all fun and shenanigans, using time travel to undo the effects of the naked time. No, they didn't use time travel to undo the effects of the naked time. The time travel at the end of the naked time was simply an accident and had no repercussions on their resolution of the issue at all. The only thing about it was that they learned that time travel was possible using the breakaway method. And running around in 1960s with an Air Force pilot and Tomorrow is Yesterday. Spock is the benefit of experience, which is why he insists Edith Keeler must die. No, he insists Edith Keeler must die because he looks at the historical record and sees that if Edith Keeler doesn't die, the Nazis win World War II and the Federation never exists. It's not because he has this massive experience and Michael Burnham taught him the importance of understanding the repercussions of changing the timeline. He had the repercussions of changing the timeline right in front of him on his tricorder. He knew exactly what was going to happen if Edith Keeler didn't die, and that's why he said it. He said it because he is a cold, calculating, logical individual. He is not going to change. He's not going to try to sugarcoat it and say, well, golly, if there was just some way to... No, he knew it. She must die. End of story. You only have to save all sentient life once before the lesson sticks. Oh man. This is, I cannot believe that this person, I hope that she doesn't get paid for her journalism. I'm being serious. If she is getting paid to write this kind of crap, then there is a very serious problem over at StarTrek.com. Granted, there probably is several serious problems over at StarTrek.com, but this is one of them. Because she clearly doesn't know Star Trek, and this is just one more attempt to try to legitimize Star Trek Discovery without changing Star Trek Discovery. See, that's the real problem here, is that these shills are working, of course, for the people at CBS. They want to keep producing Star Trek the way it is, but they want it to make money, right? So they got to convince everybody that, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. See how perfect it is? Because if not for Michael Burnham, Spock never would have convinced Kirk to let Edith Keeler die. So but this is just stupid because they want so desperately to legitimize Star Trek Discovery rather than fix it. You know, here's the thing, CBS, if you really want the Trekkies to come back and to enjoy it and to pay you for CBS All Access, here's the magic formula. I'm gonna tell you right now. Make good Trek. That's it. If you can do that, you will get millions upon millions of Star Trek fans more than happy to pay you a monthly fee for more Star Trek. I would be first in line. But you gotta make it good. You can't just slap together these half-assed stories, try to throw some progressive politics into it just for fun, and say how incredibly brilliant it is because your lazy writers managed to say something like this. That, hey, Spock is only awesome because Michael Burnham told him to be.
I sometimes expect too much of you.
So, I'm sorry. You got to flush this article down the toilet. Take care.
Keeler must die. Die. Keeler must die. Keeler must die. Keeler must die. Die. Keeler must die. Keeler must die. Keeler must die.